Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you. And today we have a special treat for you. I'll tell you what, we got a special VIP guest. This guy is amazing. He's a rock star. He's one of our amazing authors, and he's just a good person, a good human being. And for those of you that say there's not good people out there, well, you haven't connected with Lance Riggen. Lance, welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, Daniel, I'm doing really good, man. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast, man. I feel privileged and honored to be here.
No. Well, brother, I know the amazing rock star you are. Tell the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show who is Lance Riggen?
Yeah, man. So I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, over 25 years now. I've done construction. I had a trucking company. I've done multiple multi-level marketing type businesses throughout the years, just trying to get ahead. And I finally landed on real estate investing. That's kind of what I am now. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a capital raiser. I'm also building my own coaching platform, right? And writing my first book, almost finished with it. So really excited to get that launched with you, man. And excited to see what God has in store for me and how he's going to use me, with this book.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, get out your pen and get out your paper because we need you to take some massive notes because you know what? Lance is going to drop some massive wisdom. You know what we say here in the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show? What you write down, you retain more here in your brain, and we definitely want your brain to change. Well, brother, man, you're just where do we even start, right? Because you do a lot of great things, but I think one thing that what I love about you is that like you're real, right? And in business, I see a lot of businesses that struggle because they try to pretend to be somebody that they're not. And I think,
Hmm.
we had the privilege of going to this amazing event in Dallas. I was kind of like your guest there, and just to see like genuine people. Why do you think that people find it hard to just be genuine and real sometimes and they try to put on a facade or be somebody in business that they're not?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're so right. I locked into this community that just had kind of that go-giver mentality, and I was like sold on it immediately. In my opinion, I think people are way too concerned about image and what other people think about them. And so
Mm.
they try really hard to be people pleasers and to please everybody. And I don't do that. For me, I am who I am, man. You like it or not, I'm not trying to please everybody. I know I can't. And I've gone through those phases in my life. I feel like God has really put me on the path that I was destined to be on finally in my life. I'm going to be 48 years old this year. And, I think a big part of it is, if you can learn to be vulnerable with other people, you're going to build trust a lot quicker. If you share your faults and some of your downfalls and some of your failures that you've had with other people, it makes you more human. And, you're a leader. I'm a leader in my community. It makes you human, right? And so I like to share those pitfalls and also how I was able to rebound from those, right? And what lessons I learned from those mistakes that I'd made in the previous deals or whatever I was doing, previous life situations, relational, everything. Like I'll share anything and everything, man. I'm an open book. I love to share with people. And it's not because I want to toot my own horn. It's because I want to be able to impact others around me and help them hopefully avoid some of those pitfalls that
Yeah.
I've been through. You know what I mean? So,
Well, you know what comes to mind with what you're saying is I think a lot of people try to focus on perfection. And when you
hmm
focus on perfection, ladies and gentlemen, you're never going to be perfect, right? Right? We're in the book publishing, we're your publisher. A lot of people want a perfect book. Yes, you can have a high quality book, but there's no such thing as perfection. And I think,
yeah.
listen to what Lance is saying, ladies and gentlemen, focus on progress, not perfection. Focus
Mm.
on progress and not perfection. And how do you get progress? Think about this. This is what I love what Lance just said is that you're trying to be something that you're not maybe in business and because you're comparing yourself to them and them. But look at this. You're comparing yourself to everybody else, but you're not being you because you're trying to be perfect and there's no such thing as perfection. Why don't you focus on these two things with what Lance just said? Focus on being consistent because you and I both know how many people start something, Lance, and they never even they do it one day, maybe one month, and then they're like, hey,
Yeah.
what happened to so and so? And you're like,
Yeah.
where did they go? Right. So
Yep.
you're not consistent. And I can say that because, dude, today, check it out. 51 years old. I just finished 66, day 66 of a 90-day challenge, 100 push-ups in a row for 90 days. And
Nice.
you know what I realized, and you can give me your input on this. Do you think people
Mhm.
just it's easier to put on a facade than to keep their promises to themselves? Because the truth is
Mhm.
this, to do 66 days of push-ups that I've been doing, I had to keep that promise even when I didn't feel like it. But you know what
Yes.
the beautiful thing is on day 66? It's a habit now. It's a habit. What are your thoughts on that, my man?
Oh, dude, that's so there's so much gold in there. Yeah, I mean, really, the one of the keys to success is persistency and consistency, and you know it, right? Like you have to show up every day. If you don't, it's too easy to slide back into old habits, man. And so consistency is really one of the keys to success. I tell people all the time on my weekly Zoom that I do. I do a mindset Zoom, and it's the big focus is mindset because people are so inconsistent and they show up for a little bit and then they fall off. I just talked to a lady last week. She goes, "Oh, after that event, our Squat Up Summit event, she goes, I took 2 weeks off. I didn't do anything." I was like, "What?" And that to me, I knew right away, like that is a recipe for failure. You've got
Yeah.
to show up. And I like to tell people all the time, and I won't drop the F bomb, but F your feelings, right? That's one of my favorite sayings. Success doesn't care how you feel. Your bank account doesn't care how you feel. Your mortgage, the bank doesn't care, right? The bank that owns your car, right? Like nobody cares if you feel like working or not. You just got to do it anyways, and that's what sets us apart from most people is that we're willing to do what we don't want to do when we don't want to do it. Right? That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
lines. You know what I mean? Like we show up anyways, and one of the cool things about consistency is I saw a graph, I don't know, late last year. It showed what consistency really looks like, and it shows what people's perception of consistency looks like. When we say consistency, show up every day, people see what they see and hear is I have to put everything in every day, 100% all day, every day. And that's not really what consistency looks like. Like, right? When you don't feel like it, you show up. You're definitely not 100,
Yeah.
right? You're going to be maybe 40, 50, 60%, but you're still showing up. And that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, look, consistency is just showing up. Like you might not be into it. You might not be just like, fired up, but you show up anyways. You do put in the work. You're still putting 40, 50% more than you would have if you didn't show up.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
love that because so ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself this question. Where are you not being vulnerable? Where are you not being genuine? Where are you trying to be somebody else? Not maybe not even in business. Maybe you're like, well, Daniel, I'm not a business owner yet. Well, it's okay. But in your life, are you trying to be somebody else just to please people? Like
Hmm.
people pleasing is not going to get you where you want to go. People pleasing is actually going to hurt you and damage you more than help you. And
Hmm.
are you trying to be somebody that you're not to accelerate your growth? This is what comes to mind is people. I think of businesses that I've helped and coached is people is like one of the business comes to mind is that as you're coaching people, everybody wants the sales, right? Everybody wants to grow the revenue, and it's important, right? I'm a sales guy at heart. I've been in sales pretty much all my life, running a Chevrolet dealership for many years. But
Hmm.
the thing is this is that people need to focus on the foundation. And
Hmm.
because if you don't have the proper foundation, then you're going to crumble, right? You have this big tower of sales and revenue, and all of a sudden, if you don't have the foundation to carry that much success, the weight's going to get to it. And I think people
Yeah.
try to be somebody that they're not, and then not being genuine, like you're saying, and then
Hmm.
They get some success and then they don't have the capacity to receive it, and they end up self-sabotaging.
Yeah,
So ladies and
definitely.
gentlemen, where do you need to just think about this? What are some cracks in your life right now, in the foundation of your life? What are some cracks in the foundation of your business? And where do you need to be more consistent? Maybe it cracks consistency, like Lance is saying. Let me ask you this, Lance. What's one of the hardest truths you had to come with, right? You've been a very successful, I mean, you've been in business for decades, right? I mean, you've survived it. And most people don't even 90% don't even last year, the next, right?
Yeah,
Don't even make it to 5 years in business.
yeah.
What's been a truth that you had to face that you can share with our audience that helped you to make it as far as you've had and be the success that you are, brother?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. First of all, you can't you can't listen to the naysayers, man. You can't. Don't listen to your family. Don't listen to your friends who are. They're going to tell you you're crazy. They're going to tell you can't do it. You're never going to make it. They'll probably tell you that statistic to try and scare you. I actually had a CPA. I wanted to set up my business when I started my construction company over 20 some odd years ago. I sat down with CPA. I said, hey, I want to structure this right. I want to make sure I got everything, ready for when I start this business. I want to keep, the books and everything, whatever. And he tried to, persuade me to not. He goes, no, you really shouldn't do this. And I'm like, I'm going to pay this guy, and he's telling me, hey, most businesses fail. You really shouldn't do it. Blah blah blah. And I had a lot of doubters and a lot of naysayers, man. And so I'm going to say use that as fuel, right? I had competitors early on. I went to my first home show at the fairgrounds where you showcase your new products and the trendy designs and colors and stuff that are out. I remember going to my first home show as a construction company with my grand tile business, and I had my competitor. I was all excited and pumped up, man, and I was like stoked to be there. I finally made it, to the big time, and I'm looking around and I look down the aisle to the two really big competitors in town, and they're talking amongst themselves. And I looked and I kind of like give them a nod, and they look over and they start laughing at me. And man, that really ticked me off, and that really fueled me, man. I wanted to crush them after that in business. I was like, you know what? You laughing now, but guess what? I'm coming for you. And I put a target on those guys, and man, it made me work harder. I tried harder, and I ended up being one of the top shops, one of the bigger shops, more well known shops, better location than them in the city. And so, that for me, it's like you can't let the fear and doubt stop you, man. Don't let those little voices in your head stop you, right? You got to always be educating and growing. That's a big thing. Like if you're educating
Yeah,
yourself, growing, getting around the right people like you, like myself, right? People who have had success and are on that track. That's what you got to do. You got to, because you are who you surround yourself with, right? At the end of the day, the
yeah,
five people you surround yourself with the most, you're around the most, you're going to be mimicking their finances. Your income's going to be about the same. Your house is going to be about the same size, same price range. Your cars, your kids, your after hours
yeah,
time. You're going to be mimicking those five people. And so one of my mentors is always like, look, you're going to have to distance yourself from those people, even if it's friends and family. Just distance, not cut them off, right? I'm not saying cut them
yeah.
off, but you're gonna have to distance and limit the time you're spent, because those people can drain you and just drag you down. So for me, that's huge, right? That's really big.
You want to fire your family. And
Hmm.
you know what? I'm loving this because what we're talking about is just business 101. And the truth is this is that people are gonna laugh at you before they applaud you.
Yeah.
Write that down. Think about what Lance just said. The big boys in that time, they looked over there, they laughed at him. Well, guess what?
Hmm.
Dave and Buster's was not Dave and Buster's, Blockbusters was a big boy one day. And that was Netflix over there, and they laughed at them. And who's around right now? Netflix. You might even say who's
Hmm.
Blockbuster, depending on your age. Think about
Yeah.
this. Kodak. You couldn't buy a camera without the name Kodak on it back in the day. Where's Kodak now? They didn't want to change with the times. They even had an opportunity to come up with a printer. They're like, why do
Hmm.
we need to do a printer? we're the biggest camera company in the world. And then, right, these little guys came around, and now your phones are better quality than what most cameras are. So, what's the lesson
Hmm.
behind what we're talking about? Like, don't let people's opinions of you keep you from doing what God put in your heart to do. People are going to laugh at you before they applaud you. And the truth is, it may be harder than what you think it is, right? I think me and Lance have cried a couple of times. Let me ask you this, Lance. Do me a favor. Look into the camera, and maybe there's a gal out there, a business owner that's really discouraged, and they're praying to God. Give me a word of encouragement. What would you say to somebody that's out there that they're on the brink, right? They're
Hmm.
just this close to giving up already because it's harder. What would you say to that person right now, my brother, when it comes to business?
Oh, that's good. I love this. This is the stuff I love, right? I love empowering and lifting others up around me. Because I don't want to be at the top alone. Because I'm going to the top, right? And I want to bring people with me, and that's my mindset, and it always has been. But I want to use I'll throw out a couple of things. First thing that's helped me is a little comic strip that I saw. Oh, I don't know how long, 20 years ago, a long time ago. It had two miners, two gold miners, right? You probably know this comic strip. It's
Yeah.
ingrained and burned into my brain. And there's two gold miners, and they're both digging for gold with a pickaxe. And one of them, they're both about, and they've been digging through this whole tunnel, right? For who knows how many, maybe months, years. And one of them decides to throw in the towel and give up. And he's like, I mean, a foot, maybe 2 feet away from the biggest gold mine of his life. He throws it down, walks away. The other one continues to dig, and he hits the biggest gold mine of his life, right? And that cartoon is an analogy for life. If you quit, you're guaranteed to lose, right? But if you just keep going, pull up your boots, right? Put your big boy pants on and keep grinding through those hard times, you're bound to make it. It's going to happen. You've got to obviously make corrections, learn from your mistakes, but that little comic strip has kept, sticks in my head because I don't know anyone who's successful who doesn't want to quit sometimes. Some people oftentimes, like every week I have a thought like, screw it, it's not worth it, but I don't listen to that. You know what I mean? You can't listen to that voice in your head, from the enemy, right? Because it's coming straight from the pits of hell. And
Yeah.
I would look at the devil and the angel, like, on my shoulders, kind of. One's telling you the good things to do, the other one's
Yeah.
like, and I used to say that all the time, flick him off my shoulder because I know that's not me, that's not God. And I'm like, no, right? I know it gets hard. I know it's painful sometimes, but the prize at the end of the road is worth the sacrifice. I can tell you that. It
Mm.
might take you another year, 2 years, 10 years or more, right? But if you stick with it, you will find success, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I no, I love what you're saying. It's and I know the exact cartoon you're talking about because I've
yeah.
seen that several times, and
Yeah.
it's like the book 3 feet from gold. Like you're 3 feet from gold,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
can tell you that I'm laughing because like if you would have seen my Friday, my Saturday, I was like, what the like I was just I was telling Marty, let's sell the damn lake house, right? Like let's make a couple of 100,000 and I'm done with this because why? Lightning hit a line, the refrigerators were
Oh.
out. There was
Ooh.
when food sits there and it's chicken, you know what the house smells like, right?
Mm.
So it was just one of those weekends, right? But it's part of
Hmm.
the growth, right? Listen to
Yeah.
this, ladies and gentlemen. What Lance and I are saying is the only way you're going to grow is through adversity. The only way you're going to
Mm.
grow is through problems, and problems are part of entrepreneurship. Problems are going to problems are going to what en- problems are going to enable you to handle more. Listen to what I just said. Problems are what are going to enable you, ladies and gentlemen, to handle more. And the more you complain about the problem, the more really you're killing your own growth and you're killing your own blessings because right now I think about who I am right now, Lance. Like I think about the nut that I have monthly. I think about our corporate office here
Hmm.
where we're at. I think of our other house, our lake house. I'm thinking like I would have just collapsed because I didn't have the right foundation inside of me, right? Inside of Daniel. Because
Mhm.
it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
people want it, but they don't have the
Mhm.
substance to that. Talk to us about that.
That's good. That's great. The foundation is key, man. I, as you know, my book I'm writing is about a big part of it is rebuilding that foundation. It's unlearning and relearning, right? Fight for her. That's my wife and I went through some major stuff. But yeah, we the thing is the foundation is everything, man. Like my foundation was I needed to call an expert to repair it because it was in bad shape. Uh, before before my wife walked away from me in 2020, basically. So the foundation, my new foundation is built on solid granite. The way you do that is unlearning some really bad things that you've learned. Like most of that stuff comes from your childhood, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be lessons in my book and my coaching. I'm going to be really hitting on is the wounds from our fathers that we pick up, right? Stepfathers, fathers, like those wounds, if not healed, are going to be, you're going to be basically bleeding, and you're going to, those wounds are open and gaping. If they're not healed, you're going to be bleeding all over your wife, your kids, your friends. You're going to, most likely have some major toxic traits. For me, it was anger, sarcasm, um, you know, um, just lashing out at my kids, just the 10% of the time was a total jerk. So I had to figure some things out. I had to figure out why that was happening. Why was I acting this way? I was around abusive relationships most of my life, and I didn't want to get married until I met my wife. Funny enough, but those foundations are important, man. And the way you build that solid foundation is through education, right? Unlearning, relearning. You've got to educate yourself. You have to open a book. You got to listen to an audio. Like people are. One of the scariest statistics I saw a few years ago said that, oh man, 90% of Americans will never read another book outside of high school. That is wild to me. I've been reading for 25 plus years, but reading it, I mean, education is where it's at. Like you're not going to fix yourself and change if you're not getting some coaching or educating yourself, at least through reading some books. But you can't just read a book and expect to change, right? You've got to use the principles that they're teaching you and implement those in a daily basis, right? That's really where change comes, is when you educate yourself and you put those things that you're learning into action. Super important, and that to me is a good way to build a solid foundation. Education, building a good network, and putting those things into action, right? Putting that action plan together, because you want to stack up wins early on. If you're not winning in business, you've got to get some wins right under your belt. If you don't, your confidence level is just going to go down. So you've got to squat up. That's why I encourage my community members to JV, joint venture with other people. We say squat up, right? Squat up with someone else. If you're not
Yeah.
sure what you're doing, you've got some education, but you're afraid to take your first move. Guess what? Partner up with someone like me, with someone like Daniel, and with somebody who's been there and done that and made those mistakes. That's what builds confidence. When you get that confidence, then you're like, wow, okay, I think I can do this. Sometimes I'll help new investors 1, 2, 3 deals until they get enough confidence and posture to move and do it on their own. So,
are you an aspiring speaker? Do you have a book that you've been wanting to write for months, maybe even years? Or are you an aspiring podcaster? You want to start that podcast like the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show and don't know where to start? Well, at Daniel Gomez Enterprises, we can help you do all three. We can help you become that paid speaker, share your story to the world, write your book, and get your podcast launched and help you produce it. We'd love to help you. Give us a call at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. We can help you become that paid speaker, write that book, and launch your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call now.
I think we've all heard this: knowledge is power. No, that's BS. That's
Right.
half of the power, right? That's
Yeah,
half
yeah.
of the power. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the book. I'm gonna read Lance's book, by the way. Go get it. It's gonna be out before the end of the year. We'll tell you the launch date. But you read the
Yes.
book, my life's gonna. We expect our life to change from reading the book. No, now, right? Now you got the knowledge. Now you got to go apply the knowledge. And it's the activation of the knowledge in the book. It's the activation of the knowledge from the conference. It's the activation because if you're not applying it, it doesn't matter. If you're not applying it, it doesn't matter. Maybe the word apply doesn't speak to you. Well, go execute something. Go do, take action, right? You got to take action. I remember when I first started my business, I would always say action equals traction, because if you're not taking action, you're not getting no traction. So
exactly.
Talking about your book, what is something you hope, Lance, that people will take away from your book? And right, so just to give a little bit of backstory, Fight for Her, one man's journey to resurrect the love of a loss. You know, this, like you mentioned earlier, you and your wife went through a season of just turbulence, to say, and you decided to fight for her. I think that's a problem with a lot of men, right? I'm gonna pick on the men a little bit right now. Most men don't freaking fight for anything anymore. They're forgive me, but I can say this because I'm 51 years old and I'm pushing out 100 push-ups straight. Most men are just out of shape and freaking lazy and don't have any. They don't have any ganas, man. They don't have any. They lost their manhood, to say, which is sad.
Yeah.
But I like to go to the mall and people watch, and it's sad. Half the dads out there, they're just out of shape, and I'll just say that.
And they've lost their drive, right, in life. They're just like not driven. So that whole book, the whole experience was wild, man. Did you want me to dip into that a little bit?
Yeah, like what's something that you want somebody to, what's one of the main takeaways you want the reader to take from your book?
Yes, thank you.
Or not that they want to take, but they're gonna take away from it.
So I'll just touch a little bit on the what happened just for a couple minutes. My wife came home one day and basically read me and the kids the letter. It said that she was leaving 20 years in, to being together. Just had our first and only grandson. I was completely caught off guard. She wanted 90-day sabbatical is what she said. I didn't really understand what that meant. I was in a pretty selfish place at the time. And she left. And I made a decision within the first few days that I was going to fight for her. And it's funny, I have a friend of mine who's really helping me pull lessons out of the book right before I finish. I've got a lot of the meat and potatoes, but now I want to start pulling lessons out and to help guide people on what to do. But she's like, Lance, you jumped off the cliff, right? I never looked at it that way. She goes, you're like you're a 1 in 3% of men in this country. And I was like, wow, really? You think? She goes, yeah. She had a divorce and she went through this process and she's been educating herself on how to, change and how to do better and how to put up guards and barriers. But it's really cool to think of it that way. Are you willing to jump off the cliff to save your marriage, right? Like my goal in this is to save marriages and to help men figure it out. Even if it's too late for you, the next relationship, you can make those changes and impact your life in a positive way. So I want to train and equip men to be able to learn how to be there for their wife. Hold space, right, is a term that I learned. Just not having to fix everything. Just learning how to listen with intention, right? Listening is a big key factor of this whole thing. Communicating properly, learning their love language, loving them in their love language, right? These are the things that I want to empower men with, and the tools basically to equip them to be able to hopefully salvage their marriage, or before it gets that far, right? Create something better than they've ever had, or for their next relationship that they're going into. So it's going to be a broad spectrum, but I think every man should read this book and just get a good idea of really what a woman wants and how to treat a woman, right? Because they want to feel loved. They want to feel desired. It's important that we constantly date them and chase them and tell them they're beautiful and buy them flowers, right? Rub their feet, whatever. Go do the laundry, right? Clean the kitchen, right? Like men have, so many men have, especially us Gen Xers, right? We have this false preconceived notion that, hey, the woman cleans the house, the man works, blah, blah, right? And that's fine if it works for you, great. But honestly, if you're both working together, if you're both putting in work, you really should be partners at home too, in my opinion, right? That's one of the
Yeah.
things that I learned. I was always stacking stuff on her. So if that's something that relates to you, or if you kind of are one of those guys like I was who as soon as you heard the first two sentences of the conversation and she was telling you a problem or an issue she had, all you're thinking about is the solution to her problem, and you're really not listening to the rest of the story.
Mm.
And that was my issue. And I found out I had conversational narcissism, and I had to control the conversation. I wanted to fix all the problems, right? We're ingrained. God made us that way. We're the protector. We're the provider, So we inherently want to protect, help them heal their pain. But guess what? Most of the women don't want that unless they ask.
I've never heard of that conversation narcissism.
Yeah.
I've heard of a narcissist, but I've never heard of
Yeah.
a conversation narcissist.
Yeah, dude, I found out in the book How to Listen with Intention by Patrick King. I listened to that book 5 times.
Wow.
And that book literally changed my life, my marriage. Really, that was the biggest number one tool aside from God, guiding me in the right direction. But I listened to that book over and over, and I'd see her at work and I would implement those things, right? I was really having to really focus on not keeping that thought of fixing everything, and I had to let it go. I just had to let those thoughts go. And that was a huge challenge for me. But ultimately, at the end of the day, dude, taking extreme ownership and learning to be vulnerable and, really killing the ego, man. You got to really kill that ego off, because that's a huge problem for men. Is like we're set in our ways and like, oh, she knew how she was when she got with me. I've heard that so many times. I'm like, man, that's the biggest cop out. We all
but
grow.
You know what?
Yeah,
I'm hearing you say that, and I'm thinking of business owners that I've coached, and they're like, well, I don't know why my business is struggling. And to that point, exactly what you just said, right? Like, like, bro, you're the problem. Like, you're the issue of your business. But
exactly.
And I've learned, right? I'm like, hey, Rick, you hired me to help you get your business go in the right direction. He goes, yeah. And you want to know what the problem is? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, sit down, because you need to hear this. And you can't take it personal. You're the problem. And most men don't want to hear that. Most men, whether it's in their personal life or in their business, because the truth is this, the way you do something is the way you do everything. And I'm listening to what you're saying, and it's like, right? So ask yourself this question, ladies and gentlemen. Are you listening to the other person that's right in front of you, speaking to you and communicating? Are you listening to react, or are you listening to understand? And I would say 90% of people listen to react instead of listening to understand. And that's something that, I mean, I had to work on too, right? I don't know if I would have been classified when I was younger as a conversation narcissist, but maybe in some circles, yes.
Yeah, right. I think with our wives, our significant others is where I think we have it the most, because we just want to help them, and we don't understand how to communicate properly. That's the biggest thing. I learned that years ago. I didn't fix it years ago, but I learned from one of my pastors at a church that we belonged to for a long time, a lot of years, that that was a big thing, that the problem that we had. We want to control the outcome of the pain. We don't want to see them in pain, and so our initial reaction is to fix it.
Yeah.
I'm the fix it guy. So it's wild though, man. You just didn't know it. I didn't know any of this stuff, and really when I started realizing some of this stuff, I was praying about it pretty heavily. I reached out to a very good, godly man that I had been in men's ministry with for a lot of years, and he actually was like, "Look, you gotta let her go, right? You can't keep hounding her and constantly texting her. I know you're gonna go on this journey." He knew I was a fighter. He knew I would go for it, and go hard. And he like, look, you've got to go on this journey for yourself, man. That was a big piece of advice that I didn't understand early on. First couple weeks, I was trying to please her. I'm buying her gifts and all this stuff. I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know. Like I was still in shock. And they don't want that. They don't want you to grovel. They don't want you begging. They don't want you. If they're done, they're done. Like you need to let them go and give them space, right? That was a huge, huge turning point for me. And I had to learn to live my own life. He goes, you've got to live your life, man. You can't just be like sitting and wallow in pain. You have to continue to move on. And hopefully she'll see the changes and she'll give you another chance. But there's no guarantee in this. She might not. And that was heavy for me. You know what I mean? Like for me, her leaving was the best thing that could have happened to our marriage, man. We tell people we're on our second marriage to the same person, basically, right? We're renewing our vows in West Palm Beach, you know, in June. And it's something that we want to do. We're going on 5 years now since that whole thing went down. And man, she's happier than she's ever been. It's because I tell you the number one most important thing, in my opinion, the number one thing that I learned was just to provide a safe space for her where she could come and tell me anything, right? Isn't that what you want, right, guys out there, right? Don't you want your wife, bro, to feel safe and comfortable telling you anything? You know what I mean? That's really the number one thing.
When you say that, that's not just wisdom for a marriage. That's wisdom for life. Like for your team members, for your community, like provide a safe haven for somebody to come and just. This is good.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a part 2, brother.
It's powerful, man. Right? This stuff's powerful.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, think about as we're coming to the end of the show. Think about what we're talking about. Are you providing a safe haven for your wife to come and just speak to you? This is the question I want you to write down. Are you approachable? Are you providing a safe haven for your kids? Are you approachable to your kids? Are you providing a safe haven in your business as an entrepreneur? If you have a brick and mortar, if you have an office, are you approachable as the leader of your organization? And many people ain't, right? I wasn't when I was younger. I wasn't even 6 years ago. And I think I've gotten a lot better, but it takes work. Like you have to be like Daniel had to be honest with Daniel in order for things to change. Daniel had to be honest with me. Before we land this ship, I wanna ask you, my brother, like what is a word of wisdom you want to share with the Daniel Gomez Inspire show? Could be anything.
Yeah. I'd like to just kind of, tell your viewers that life is real short, right? Life is short. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Don't live a life full of regrets, right? Don't be the guy that's on your deathbed and looks back and go, man, I should have done this. I should have tried that. Risk it, right? Risk it all. Like I risked everything, literally risked everything, and I have no regrets. I'm not going to look back, and I'm going to tell you right now that life is all about taking risks and getting uncomfortable, right? If you're living a comfortable lifestyle, you're not living life. Life shouldn't be that easy. I like a little bit of toughness in my life because I know I'm growing, and I know there's some resistance, and I know I'm walking on the path that I'm supposed to be set on. So I want to tell you to take that risk, go get out there and just try it, right? Try your hand, start your own business, buy a piece of real estate, just do it, right? Get some education, get around the right people, and just go for it, man. Like life is too short to not take any risks, that 9 to 5, they don't give a rip about you, like you've got to take some risks at some point. Otherwise you're going to get it at the end of your life and go, man, I could have tried this. I should have done that. I don't have that in my life. I go, man, I don't think about why I can't do something. I think about how can I do this? It's a total shift in mindset. So I want to encourage you to start educating yourself, read some books. If you want to get into something, learn about it, educate yourself on it, and do it. So,
man, baby, there you go. Lance Riggen on the Daniel Gomez Inspire show. How does someone connect with you, brother?
Yeah, you can reach me on Instagram at Lance Riggen. Riggen, and then Lance Riggen on Facebook. Those are my main 2 areas I'm on. And then, I'll reach out. I'll give you my contact info. You can always email me too, Lance at TexasBNH.com. B as in boy, N as in Nancy, H as in Harry. Let's do some deals together, right? If you're struggling in your marriage, I'm more than happy to talk to you. I've got a lot of love to give, right? God's putting me on this journey. So let's talk.
My brother, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll have all his contact information out there. And don't forget, if you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, Daniel Gomez Inspires, one of the top business coaches here in Texas. We want to help you get unstuck in your business. We've taken a business that was losing $1 million to making $1 million in less than a year. And we've taken a business that was making $19 million to over $40 million. So that's not just hearsay, that's facts. And we would love to help you get yourself and your business to the next level. And if you have a story to show like Lance right here, right? DGE Publishing, we want to help you publish your story to the world because the world needs to hear your story. Thanks again, once again, brother, for being here with us. Until next week with another amazing guest like Lance Riggen here on the Daniel Gomez Inspires Show. We'll see you then. And thank you once again for making us one of the top podcasts nationwide and internationally. God bless you, everybody. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.